So as a guy who's only 5'4", trust me, shorter is sometimes better. And that's why I've picked a little mini moment from a recent episode that I think you'll really like. So if you do, the full conversation is right there in the podcast feed. Enjoy.
This is Laugh or Death, hosted by keynote speaker Paul Osincup.
Our brain naturally wants to already see the negative stuff. How many times do you think at the end of the day, I'm so proud of myself for all these things I've done? No, we always think to ourselves, oh, I didn't get this done. I didn't get this done. Or, oh, I wish I would have done this better. And our brains are wired that way naturally to pick out the negative things. And I think this was like an evolutionary thing. Like, when we were cave people, being able to focus on anything that was wrong in our surroundings at any time helped us survive. Help us survive, an incoming storm or a pterodactyl or whatever. But nowadays, when we don't have those threats, it doesn't really help us thrive. And so instead, you can you'll be thinking anything. You might be thinking, this idiot doesn't even realize that people didn't live in the Mesozoic era with pterodactyls. And that's what your brain was focusing on during that story. And that's fine. But it takes work and practice to be able to get good at trying to see more optimistic things or the more positive things more often. And so rational optimism, it's not some false hope that everything will get better. It's a belief that you can make things better. And so it takes a little bit of action and practice. I think of it like the difference between being a thermometer and being a thermostat. Anybody can be a thermometer. A thermometer just tells the temperature. So that could look like, this sucks. We don't have the resources to complete that. We don't have enough time. That's just telling the temperature. That's just saying how things are, how you feel. But a thermostat tells the temperature and then does something about it, tells the temperature and then changes things for the better, even if just by 1 degree. So the question that I'm always trying to ask myself is like, am I being a thermometer or am I being a thermostat? Because it's also like, who would you rather hang out with, be with, or in a work setting, work with, or be led by? I mean, there are two types of people in the world. Those who spark joy every time they enter a room, and those who spark joy every time they leave one. So it's like, which type am I being today, right now? And what if I could be the one who's sparking joy more often when I come into a room and I'm being a thermostat and trying to change things a little bit for the better? And it turns out we can. When I think about like trying to see both the negative and positive sides of things, like recently I had this really great speaking engagement lined up at the end of June, like paid really well. It was an awesome opportunity. Like I was really excited about the prospect of this, and it fell through. I didn't end up getting it, and I was really bummed. And I'm going to let myself be bummed and annoyed and mad and that kind of thing. But how long do I do that for? How long do I complain about that and see the negative sides of it? Like I could use the income from that. I also could have used a lot of the connections that would have set up. Plus, I think it would have been a really fun one. Like I was really bummed. I also can see that because my wife, Kelly, has been gone a lot lately, that was one time when we both were going to be out of town again. And so she was actually going to be at home that week, and it gave us an extra week together that we hadn't seen each other a lot. So it was like, I was glad about that. That was a positive from that. And then even more so, that was a week that my little dog, Edwin, who we've had for 14 years, awesome little guy, we had to euthanize him that week. And so there is positive. They're like, I'm glad I was home for that. I'm glad I was home, like really his entire last week of his life. And we had a great week and got to celebrate him. So I'm going to choose to focus on those positive things rather than being pissed off that I didn't end up getting this speaking engagement. So some ways that we can optimize our options, trying to think about how do we become more optimistic and train our brain to do that, one simple way to try to reframe your thoughts is try to think. A lot of times we get stuck in our brain going, why is this happening to me? And just trying to reframe that thought when you have it and go, how is this happening for me? What opportunities could there be? And if that's too abstract, going from why is this happening to me to how is this happening for me, then a lot of times I think about it like, here's the cards I've been dealt. What's my next best play? Or how will this help me grow? Or what am I learning from this experience? Or as a comedian, I think about this all the time. How might this be material someday? Hey, thanks for listening. If that little mini moment resonated with you, then you don't have to stop now. The whole conversation is available in the podcast feed. See you over there.